Hello and welcome. You are watching Talk to Addis program in AMN+. In our today's program, we are going to have a stay with the project manager of Antonio Road Staffing Foundation, Oliver Kopsich. Do stay with us. Mr. Oliver, welcome to our program.
Thank you very much for having me.
It's a pleasure here. I really appreciate your time and you being here. Good. So to begin with, would you tell us a brief about your foundation's activities?
Okay. Yeah, I'm Oliver Kopsch, as you kindly introduced me. I'm the project manager for Antonia Rood Stiftung, and Stiftung stands for foundation. So that's the Stiftung and foundation is the same thing. So yeah, I'm overseeing the international projects of the foundation. We are based in Germany. We're about 150 kilometers west of Frankfurt on the Luxembourg border. And there's our head office, if you will. And from there we design projects, we organize our own asset management, our own board meetings. So everything's happening in this office in Trier, the town of about 100,000 people.
Good, thank you. So let's begin with the first question. Could you tell us about the mission of your foundation and what activities are you running here in Ethiopia?
Yeah. Well, the foundation is operational since 2005. So next year we celebrate our 20th birthday, so we are very proud of that event coming next year. And since the beginning, we had objectives as a foundation. You have to have objectives what you do with the funds that you generate out of your management. And the objective is basically helping people in need. And we have many subcategories in these objectives. And one of them, which I'm focusing on, is poverty reduction, water management, and health, anything to do with medication. There are other projects that we do also in Trier, in the town of Trier, locally. So these are for cancer victims and young people and those kind of activities.
Good. How does your foundation's projects integrate with climate resilient kind of activities?
Yeah.
How are they related? Would you brief us, please?
Yes. Well, I'm in charge for the international projects. So we have projects in Latin America, like Paraguay. There's a big issue on environmental, of course, as well. We have projects in Asia, particularly in Indonesia. There's a small island called Lombok. They have a problem of waste, of bio-waste. So this is all about bio-waste recycling, how to use bio-waste for food production. So there's a technology called BSF, black soldier flies. And these flies produce larvae. The larvae eat the bio-waste. The larvae then are fed to the chicken. The chicken then grow. They're being sold to the tourism. Tourism eats the chicken, and you produce bio-waste. So you close the loop in terms of bio-organic production and wastage. So that's one example that we do in Asia. In Paraguay, we work a lot with schools. So we set up together with the Don Bosco organization. It's a Catholic organization worldwide. They run a lot of schools, and for the last couple of years, we work with them in order to teach kids from 5 years up to 16 years old about environmental issues. So we are always focusing on environmental issues across the foreign countries outside Germany. And particularly in Ethiopia, since 2009 I've been here. And we are the first one that has implemented solar pumping in the off-grid area in central Ethiopia.
I see. You're doing great in this area.
Yeah, I mean, we had it's a funny story when some Ethiopian came to Germany in winter and it was freezing cold. And then he came in and said, "Oh, can you donate us a well? We have no water, and can you finance us a diesel power pump?" And our staff said, "Hey, you're in Ethiopia, 13 months of sunshine, you know the claim of 13 months for the calendar, and why don't you use solar?" And the guy said, "What is solar?" So that's 2009, and he didn't know anything about it. Yeah. So the foundation then hired me at that time as a consultant, because I worked for many, many years in water and solar energy. And they invited me a trip to go to Ethiopia to check out what's available. So we couldn't find any supplier of solar pumping and solar PV panels. And so the first project with 2 wells we shipped from Germany. And that was 2009. So we were happy to pay the green premium of avoiding diesel. So the investment cost is higher, but the operation costs are almost zero because sun and gravity is free. And yeah, it took us a year to implement it. We then worked with a local NGO called SMART, and the name was good because it's called Sustainable Management of Alternative and Renewable Technology, so called SMART. Yeah. And SMART then implemented the project with us in 2 locations. And that was 2009, and one of them is still working. Almost 15 years, uninterrupted water supply with solar pumping, unbelievable. So the local community then added on some distribution network. They have broken down after a while, but the solar pump is still running. It's amazing. They're producing millions and millions of liters of drinking water for the community. And that was a big success. So the other well also worked for a couple of years, but then stopped. And we're still now looking to see how we can retrofit it again to make it fit again. Because our foundation principle is, and I keep telling that story with any inauguration of solar pumping, to the communities, they're all happy and say, yes, thank you so much for bringing this. And I say, I'm the good guy, I bring and help you with the solar pumping, but I'm the bad guy, I come back and check. So, and that's what I do, still up to today, 15 years later, I still go to the old region and see how the wells are doing. Talk to the community, how you're doing, what's missing. So we look after the projects.
I see, let's talk about the smart one. I like it, the solar pumping, renewable energy and technology. I think, have you tried maybe to expand that experience to other parts of Ethiopia? Because as you have been saying, Ethiopia is known for the 30 minutes of sunshine. Yeah. And it's good to really dwell on when we talk about climate resilient kind of moves or initiatives. Using such kind of approach is very much important because it's good to be nature friendly.
Absolutely.
So maybe if there are some, efforts that you have made in this regard, it's good to talk.
I mean, if you're on the ground and if you're at grassroots level, have all the people walking there, fetching the water, there's no queue because it's running 24/7, because you have a buffer tank which is higher up. And then people fetch the water and they see the pump, or they hear the pump pumping, water's trickling up, and they say, I don't hear any diesel sound. And they're like confused. How is it possible? And the solar tracking moves alone, so they look at it and say, wow, what is it? Which is a good question, because then we can answer that question with training. So we show them how solar panels are working, what is the solar pump doing, and all those things that they need to know in terms of how to operate it. They're not solar technicians. You have them in Addis, but now we have many solar technicians all over Ethiopia, but at that time it was in Addis. And they told them about operating, keeping the solar modules clean and pretty tidy. But then they decided, which was good, because if the water tank is full, there's a float switch, so the pump is not pumping, and then the 5,000 liter tank is full. But that's midday. So why don't you overflow it, because it's free of charge anyway, into an irrigation system around the site? So all of a sudden they have a lovely green garden around the site, also with a splash water, because when you go, they wash their jerry cans and then flush it. This water is channeled out into a green area in the back, and at the same time they produce food. So it's a mix between energy and water and food. There's always these 3 things: water, energy, and food. They always belong together. Good.
Let's move to the next one. Maybe we have already, this one we have touched is the successful story of your foundation. You have done that. Maybe if there are some challenges that you have faced, maybe you have tried to touch it. Lack of awareness was the problem, and you have been able to overcome that. But with the technology matter, you told me that one of the wells have been failed, I think.
Oh yeah.
Why? Why was that? Have you been able to fix it up?
It was funny because the location is always important. And what we find is the other location which the community decided to put in is quite low. So what happens in the flooding, and now with climate change, heavy rainfall, and then the whole area where the well was dry for years is now completely submerged. It's like a swamp. So it's difficult now to get clean water out of the well because it's all over flooded. And therefore the pump has stopped, and we need to really relocate this thing further up the hill in order for them then to use that solar pumping again. But that means drilling another 50 meter down, which is another cost, and so on. So we're still negotiating with them what to do next. But the other challenge that we're facing is it's free of charge. After the investment, free energy, free water in the well. At night there's no pumping, so the well can reflush again, and there's no operating cost. So the challenge that we're facing in those areas is people still paying for the water, but no diesel cost anymore. It sounds good, but what happens with that money sitting in the pot? And that's the biggest challenge. Now all of a sudden, instead of paying the diesel pump and the generator repair, they have sitting on the money. So that's the challenge where we then think, so who's paying who, how do you do the recording, show us how much you've been selling.
Checking the balance.
Check the balance, because we know exactly from the pump software how much has been pumped. Then we can check how much money is in the bank account. And in many cases, there's not much left, and I wonder why. So it goes to different other activities, which is not related to maintenance and operating. So that's a big challenge. Check and balance is a big challenge, not only in the old ones, but also in the new ones.
What drew you to attend the international conference in Ethiopia?
Well, it's the first irrigation conference, I think, in Adwa. It's amazing hall, a huge hall with high-tech equipment and meeting rooms on the side. You go up the steps and it's like, wow, you have this wow effect. And I was kindly invited to do a presentation about our experience with some of the projects that we're implementing right now, and we already have implemented. And my subject was all about training. How to train people on mindset change, because it's a big shift from traditional operating model to new business model. And that shift is requested by the government. We met so many ministers and so many officials that really put the right policies in place. And it's really now up to us to bring it down to the ground, to speak to the communities, tell them how things are doing, and explain them the technology. And technology has an impact on their life. So all of a sudden they have a smartphone, and you have software, you have an app. So farmers are not used to this yet. So they have to understand from where they're now up to where they should go in a very, very quick space. And if you see the development of Addis, within a couple of years, it's like completely changed. And that speed we have to bring in the mindset of local people.
Good. So what contribution would the international conference like this have in changing the mindsets of people like you, what you have been saying?
Yeah.
And to what extent should such kind of conference be, met?
In this conference, I've met so many people from all over Africa. I mean, as the headquarters of AU and bringing international players together is amazing, because you have construction companies, you have pumping companies, all the technology providers are there. And now you have a go from the government to go in a specific direction. So finally we can go full speed. And I met German GIZ people, I meet people from Oromia that are in charge for pastoralist areas. And they all want to see solar pumping and solar irrigation. But where do they see it? They understand maybe from YouTube or from online media, but they need to see, touch, feel, play around with it physically. Classroom style is good in terms of academics, but we are in the field, so we are in an area between Abaminj and Konzo, in a place called the Rashe Warada, and the head town there is called Gidole, and that area is a kind of a headquarter for this region, and there we show practically those applications. And that's so crucial, because people need to come to live like the locals live, eat like the locals, and see what's that farmer doing here, what's the farmer doing there, and see how we can improve each individual piece of land.
Okay, like what you have been saying, you just have underscored the fact that solar pumping is very much important for pastoralists and people in the agriculture area. What other innovations or strategies do you prioritize just to cultivate climate resilient kind of agricultural practices? As far as your observation is concerned.
Sure. I mean, from my point of view, I'm coming from the technology side, so I'm quite technically aware what's on the market in terms of solar pumping, in terms of solar panels, in terms of battery technologies. Now moving from lead acid to lithium, big change. We're moving from analog thing, reading, to digital, all app controlled. We're moving to internet connection, directly going to the cloud, the data. We're talking about AI, checking the data and making some recommendations what to do with it. So the technology advances are amazing. It goes much faster than the understanding of those people. So that's something where we need to really focus and make sure that each farmer picks up the right solution. Doesn't mean that he has to purchase a pump. Maybe it's just enough to make his land in a way that rain-fed is sufficient for the year and cover the dry season. We have so many examples in our region, in the Russia region, where we are showcasing. We had a project for 7,000 farmers training, so we showed them permaculture principle, agroforestry principles, how to protect your soil for dry season with mulching, with swales and stuff like this, how to intercrop, how to mix and match all the different plants, how they work together, how to make trees, because trees are vital in this one, how to plant new trees in order to protect the soil and make this water infiltrate in the ground much quicker. So only then, if that's not enough, you come to irrigation. So first simple solution, which is well known, like pot irrigation. You know the clay pots, which just you put water in, you bury in the ground and slowly, slowly underground disperse the water. Dead cheap. Local communities are producing those pots. I think we bought in the projects like a couple of thousand pots, and they're now all of a sudden, you know, they were marginalized communities. Now they're producing pots and they say, I can contribute to the benefit of the community, protecting the soil, you know, irrigating the trees. So all of a sudden they're proud of their job and we can use it. And now other farmers are purchasing those pots first because it's simple, cheap. And only then, if it's not enough, then we can look into more modern irrigation type of technologies.
Yeah, wow. You know, you are just telling me the application of renewable energy like that, culturally, very cheap, easily adapted kind of, handmade kind of technology, I could say.
It's old
fantastic.
Technology. It's known for centuries,
Yeah.
you know, and if you speak to old farmers, they still know that. You know, somehow it's got lost in transition between the generations, that the young people, younger farmers say, I put fertilizers and I buy this and I put this and GMO food. After a couple of years, the soil is dead. They're poor because they depend on imports. We should rather do the other way around and say, listen, how can you build on the existing knowledge and existing material to optimize that and then be rich yourself?
Wow. It's a nice kind of experience. The other one, have you observed any emerging trends or promising solutions for irrigation and climate resilience at this conference that you believe could make a significant impact?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
As I said, the technology is advancing rapidly. Every smartphone has got so much power now to do lots of technology and calculation things. One of the trends that we observe as donors is payment schemes. So water as a service, energy as a service, to reduce the investment costs of the farmer for irrigation. So for instance, you can take a very small pump, which is mobile, you've opened the foldable solar panel, put it in the sun, and the pump starts pumping. And you have a little controller that says, okay, I can give you 3 days of pumping. Pay me 300 birr. After 3 days of pumping, the credit is finished, the pump stops, and then you say, okay, give you another 300 birr, and it pays another three days. So that takes away the burden of possessing a piece of hardware which is not used all the time, because in rainy season you don't need it. And maybe you don't need to irrigate during the day, so maybe only 1 hour. So what's the point of putting so much capital in there when you don't need it that much often? Which again then leads to eco-entrepreneurs. All of a sudden you have a guy that knows the technology and say, I've got 10 pumps, I can rent them out and makes money out of it. And this is where we come in as donors to say, we can give you capital on a business model. Show me how you make money over the next 1 or 2 or 3 years. Show me your customer base. Show me your revenue after 1 year. And in that way we train the eco-entrepreneur also in sales and marketing, but also in technology, how to fix it, how to repair it, and so on. So it's a benefit for the farmer, benefit for the eco-entrepreneur, for us, because now we can see our donation or investment, how it's performing exactly on numbers.
Wow. Okay. What are some of the biggest challenges facing irrigation systems in regions that are most affected by climate these days?
Number one, the availability of water.
Okay.
Is enough water there that you can pump, you know? And if you talk about decentralized applications where you have different areas, smallholder farmer has got maybe 0.8 hectare land, you know, does he have a well? Does he have a water point? That's the biggest challenge at the moment, where to find the right water for the irrigation. Lucky enough, if you combine it with solar-powered wells, the overflow can be used for the neighboring areas, so you can mix and match the different technologies. So water availability is a big challenge. Then purchasing power of the farmer is another challenge, so he needs to understand he's paying for the service. The pump does not belong to him, it belongs to the entrepreneur. But the willingness of payment is there, I'm sure, because you know they're actively demanding those services. And then the challenge is how to make sure that the farmer produces the right amount of vegetables or high-value crops in order to sell profitable. So he needs to understand how much money he's making now, and then after irrigation, how much money he's making now after irrigation, minus this cost, and make him also a business mindset to make him understand, oh, now, okay, your income, household income has increased 300%. You need to measure that. At the moment, they're not measuring because they're just picking up, sell, and live. But if they come into planning stage where we can help them to pool all the farmers' output together, there's a big market on organic farming, which then, if some farmers come together, they all have a pump service, they produce surplus food in organic way. I mean, the demand is huge, especially in Upper Minch. There's so many restaurants, they want organic food, even Addis. I mean, the demand is always bigger than the supply on food issues.
So in this aspect, how does the foundation approach the challenge of ensuring long-term sustainability for irrigation projects in vulnerable areas that you have been mentioning? What has been done?
So in the past, what I observe is it's donating and go away, everyone is happy, but there's no follow-up. So our approach is quite different, because we say, okay, as I said in the beginning, I give you something, but I come back and check. So I do come back and check, but I'm not going to the actual farmer to check. What we have a training center now at the moment where we train exactly those skills: irrigation, business management, financial planning, how much water you actually need to pump for those kind of crops. So we give them kind of good guidelines, and then I follow up on that training center how each farmer is doing. And I'm not tracking really the, let's say, the soft impact, but cash. You know, we are, just imagine, forget about the word donation, go for investment. So if you see this as an investment, what's the return of investment? How to quantify it exactly over time? And at the moment you can't get those figures, so we have to train those people, those farmers and their entrepreneurs to make those benchmark figures and tell me, okay, my revenue this month was this, has improved next month on this one. Or maybe in the rainy season it decreases because there's no irrigation needed. So we have to cater up for those moments or months where there's no revenue for the distributor of those pumps. So these things we need to train and explain and follow up. And that's the difference between us and maybe other organizations, because we do come back and check.
I like that. You don't simply give in, just leave.
Yeah, but you see, that's what I'm saying, I'm the good and the bad guy. So, yeah.
No, you are a fair and balanced guy.
No, I'm not sure, I'm not sure. There was an old story when I was trained actually in Ethiopia on permaculture. So there was, I think 12 years ago, a training called Permaculture Design Course, which was in Konso. And when you were the introduction, all the people were there, many locals, international students, and you have to pick an animal. So everyone picked a lion, a tiger, a snake. The trainer picked, now some insects that eat the waste, a termite. He selected termites. And everyone said, oh, termites are bad, are bad, are bad. Good, we talk about termites in that session because they're actually good. So Oliver, what animal are you? I said, I'm a virus. everyone's shocked, like, oh, he's killing me now. No, I'm a virus. And they say, what is a virus? And a virus is a little virus that goes to your cell in your body. It programs that cell, that healthy cell, to become a virus and spread the DNA to the others. That's how viruses spread. And I say, I want to be the virus. I want to spread the idea of this everywhere. So for the last 12 years, I'm trying to do this. And with local people and local friends by now, I think there are many virus spreaders already around the countryside that understand the message of sustainability.
I see. If there is one, you are going to be an enhancing virus. A capacity.
Yeah, but it's not only capacity, it's mindset. You know, when I came 15 years or a long time ago, it's always Frenchy, money. You know, now they say good morning, good afternoon in my region because I don't give money. I said, do you want to work? Here you go, daily labor, work. Then you get money. And that thing is changing now, even in rural areas where people are more, no, I don't need to beg. You know, I can do my own work. And especially young generations, so eager to learn and to be online and see things. There's so much job opportunities in this country. And if you structure it properly in terms of business making, you create so many jobs. It's unbelievable. Because you have so much sun, you have enough water. It's the management issue. And that we can teach very easily. I
see. The other one, could you share any examples of successful partnerships or collaborations that have enhanced your working climate within agriculture production?
Oh yeah. Part of this conference presentation was about a current project that we work with the German government, with the BMZ. It's about a digital payment scheme for water. So we have selected 2 regions in Ethiopia and we give them 2 points of water where people can pay digital with coins. So we can trace the finance better, but also for them 24/7 use of water. There's no water manager anymore opening the taps. And my trip this time was to observe how the community is responding to it. And as usual, you get mixed messages. So some are doing very good, some doing good. So that again leads to some training needs. And some areas, they have now surplus water, and again, the splash water, and all of a sudden things are growing on the side, you know, because again, solar pumping is free. So they can pump, there's no need to switch off the pipe if water's coming from the borehole anyway. So in that sense, 4 sites are now operational, which is good. And in terms of irrigation, now that we have this conference, that's something where it's a big focus now on irrigation, and there's so much need and technology is there, that for us it's easy then to attach it to our training center.